It's estimated that there are now over 10 million new cases of dementia each year worldwide, with Alzheimer's the most common type. Today is World Alzheimer's Day. There's currently, of course, no cure, but researchers are working on new medicines that are aimed at slowing the progression of the disease. One is donanemab, developed by the American pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly. It says clinical trials slow the pace of the disease, slow down by around 35% in patients with early-stage Alzheimer's. In July, the Alzheimer's Drug Discovery Foundation invested nearly $2 million in donanemab, which overall it's given nearly $250 million to research into the disease over the last 25 years. Now, it's estimated that the market for drugs targeting Alzheimer's disease, which was worth $2.2 billion in the year 2020, will reach nearly $14 billion by the end of this decade. Well, let's talk now to Professor Bart Strooper, the director of the UK Dementia Research Institute at the University College in London. Professor, good to see you. Welcome. World Alzheimer's Day today. What is the significance of that, and what are you aiming to try and achieve with a day dedicated to Alzheimer's?
Well, I think it's good that this day is there to reflect on the problem and to bring everybody aware about what a major disease this is. On the other hand, it's also the moment to think about what has been achieved and what has to be done still.
There's lots to be achieved, obviously, and lots has been achieved, but the number of cases is, as we know, inevitably expected to grow. How worried should we be?
We should be very worried because, well, the numbers say if we don't find a cure that we will have a triplication of these numbers and the world will end with 150 million patients in 2050. So there are the predictions if everything goes unchanged.
We hear a lot about the importance of early diagnosis. How important is that?
Well, the thing is that if you want to treat dementia, we'll have to treat early, because in the later stages you lose brain cells, and these brain cells will not come back. So what we need to do is to prevent this neuronal cell death, and that can only be done if you diagnose early. Yeah.
In terms of treatments that are being developed now, in development, how promising are they?
Well, I think that there is really good hope that we will touch ground. I think the antibodies, you mentioned one, but there are actually three, which have been approved in the United States, show already a clinical benefit, mild, but positive effect. So I think these are the first signs that we are in a really good way. And I know that there are several other drugs in the pipeline, like against tau and against inflammation, which will hit the road soon. And we will see how much they contribute. So we will see in a couple of years a multi-pharmaceutical approach towards this disease. And I'm very hopeful that we will get really a nick in the curve.
And I know distinguished experts like you hate questions like this, but I will ask you anyway. I mean, how much longer are we going to have to wait for a cure?
So I answer always with, let's look to other areas of disease. So the war on cancer started in 1970. And so I think that we can really say that we have impact on the cancer since 2010. So I think that with Alzheimer's disease and dementia, we are 30 years behind cancer. So we are at the beginning of this fight. So I think that we will see cures in the next few years, but that they will be relatively mild in their effects. But I think that by accumulating this experience, that we will see similar progress as in the other fields. And really, I don't want to put really a date on it. The only thing I know is that these three drugs are on the market in the States, that they are under investigation for bringing on the market in Europe and in Japan. And we will see how that goes and how far that brings us. And we'll see then thereafter how fast these other drugs can be implemented. So there is progress, but it will take years before we see the full scape.
There's much in the world that divides us, but this is something that should unite us. It's everyone's problem, isn't it? I'm just wondering how significant China is here in terms of caseload and the fixes and the research.
Yes, I'm so happy that you say that, because we all work all together. I have a lot of Chinese colleagues, Americans. We all work together, even in the lab, to find solutions. And it's indeed something. It would be nice if the world could focus on the problems that we and try to solve them together.
Professor, good to see you, and thank you very much indeed for your time. Professor Bart Strooper at the University College in London.